Um, we are looking forward to getting back on the field Saturday, playing at home. It's been a long time since we had a home game. Um, and, I think it's our second one in, is that 6 weeks? Or, yeah, second home game in 6 weeks. So we're looking forward to getting back here and playing against a good football team. Obviously, I think everybody saw, the game against Utah, the way USC performed and how they played. And so, it'll be a challenge for us, but our guys are looking forward to it. We were disappointed in the way we played Thursday against UCLA, so much so that we were supposed to have the weekend off. We came back and our players were supposed to have the weekend off, so much so that we came back and practiced on Friday and felt like we needed to get that game behind us and move on. Great thing about our young people is that they responded. We had a great practice Sunday, very physical, long, good practice, kind of what we needed to put the other one behind us. And so we're off to a good start in terms of getting ready for USC. So, the hard thing about our conference is if you don't play well, you don't just get beat, you get embarrassed. And all you have to do is look at the scores. It's proven to be the case all year long, regardless of who was playing. And it's a very, very deep league. There's no question in my mind it's the deepest league in college football. What makes it so deep is the small separation between, the teams that are the second, third, fourth teams and the teams that are the, 10th, 9th, and 8th teams in this league. There's really not much of a difference between those teams, and you have to play well to have a chance to win. So it's a heck of a league and competitive, and wouldn't want it any other way. And looking forward to playing against a good USC team this week.
Okay, questions?
USC was really effective against Utah's run game. What was so effective, and how are you guys kind of?
Yeah, what's interesting. Utah didn't really run the ball much. I mean, they threw it a lot more than they had at any point. I don't know if they felt like it was a better matchup for them. Exactly why they did. They didn't really run the football as much as they had. When they ran it, they were relatively effective at times. They just didn't do it very often. But USC is, their front's good. I mean, they're big, strong guys. They are tough to move. You know what I mean? They're just they occupy a lot of space. They play very physical in there. The linebackers are bigger guys as well. I mean, it's just a big football team, and Utah is a big team as well, and they've kind of been able to physically push some people around. And USC was probably not a great matchup for them in terms of running the ball. We're going to have to get a run game established. It's going to be important for us to be able to run it, take some pressure off of our quarterback. And it's important for us to be able to do that.
What do you do with Juju Smith-Schuster? He seems like he might be kind of a handful.
Yeah. All the receivers are kind of a handful. I mean, Juju Smith is an interesting guy because he's big, he's fast, but what makes him pretty unique is just his strength. He's he's incredibly strong, can break arm tackles, plays very physical. You don't see many guys with the speed that he has that are also have that strength that he has, and he's really unique that way. Adoree Jackson, I know, is another one who is a little different, but at the same time is just a big play kind of waiting to happen. I mean, those guys are I think the two best, most explosive receivers that I've seen certainly in a long time on the same football team. They can just do a lot of different things. They do a nice job getting them the ball in space, and then those guys will create offense for you. And so we've got to do a good job of tackling them. When we get them in open space and we've got situations, we've got to figure out how to get them on the ground. Because they do a nice job with them. As I said, they're both really good players.
You mentioned they're big linebackers, and Smith, of course, had the 3 interceptions. Do they those linebackers, do they pressure the passer at all, or they pretty much stay home and do
No,
drop into pass
they'll
coverage?
blitz them. I mean, they're a typical team where they'll blitz them, they'll drop them. They're versatile enough to do a lot of different things. Obviously the kid Smith guy had 3 interceptions last week, and they did a good job. He did a great job of reading the quarterback's eyes. That's the thing that to me, a couple of them they max protected and they had a 2-receiver route one time, and he did a nice job just hanging in there and reading the quarterback's eyes and flowing to the ball. He's a good football player. I mean, he's very instinctual. I think that's the thing that you look at him, and he's in the right place at the right time a lot, whether that's in the run fit and getting off blocks and just having a sense of being patient and where the ball's going, or whether that's getting into the pass drops and, as I said, reading the quarterback's eyes and making plays on the ball when he has opportunities to make them.
Sonny, what would you say is Farley's likelihood of being ready to play? You have an Orr there, and also at right guard we see Rigsby and Makari.
Yeah,
Orr.
we're just trying to kind of get competition between those guys. I mean, we didn't feel like we played well on the offensive line last week, so we wanted to open it up a little bit and let those guys compete, which we do really at every position. I wouldn't make too much of that. I think we want guys to compete, and regardless of who they are. The good thing is we've got some young players that can push some guys for some playing time, some guys that maybe people don't know that much about. Patrick McCarry being one of them. But, and like Conavai getting in there at the inside receiver spot and starting to push some of those guys as well. And, Chad Hansen maybe at Z. Chad's a guy that's starting to factor into some things for us, a big athletic, fast guy that can make some plays. And so he's starting to play more consistently. And so, that's good. When you have young players starting to push some guys that have been around for a while, that's a good thing. And we just want everybody to get better, and they all have a good attitude. Everybody's working hard. We don't have any attitude issues. We're disappointed to be 5-2, but we also realize, there's 1-6 and one team in the league, and everybody else is 5-2, so we're right there with everybody else, or maybe 2-6 and one teams in the league, but we're right there with everybody else, and we know we got to just keep grinding, keep working. No, he still can play. Yeah.
And Michael Barton, I didn't see his name on the.
Yeah, Mike's got a sprained knee, probably won't play this week. We were waiting to see how we thought he was going to recover. Looks like he's probably not going to play. Now we'll know for sure as the week progresses, but it looks that way right now.
How has the progression been for you this year, taking on the outside receivers and just kind of settling into kind of a position coach on top of everything else?
It's been good. It's been good. I mean, it's the good thing is I've got a graduate assistant, David Grew, who's played in our offense at Louisiana Tech. He's been around here for a long time. David can kind of handle a lot of the things for me that normally a position coach would do. I mean, he's very capable, really bright young coach with a real bright future. So he can kind of do a lot of the things for me. I can meet with him. David sometimes coaches him on the field. Peeler sometimes coaches him on the field. Tony coaches him. I coach him. So they're really a lot of set of eyes on all the players. And we really haven't changed anything that we've done from last year to this year, the way any techniques, anything we meet on, any meeting schedule, any of that kind of stuff. It's stayed pretty consistent. So it's been good for me. It's allowed me an hour and a half every day to coach football, and instead of having to worry about the stuff you worry about as a head coach, you know what I mean? For an hour and a half a day, I get to just focus on coaching and be around a group of players. The relationship is different when you're in there, those guys for an hour and a half every day. You just get to know them more, and there's more of a the relationship that I'm accustomed to, where you just get to know players and they get to know you and you get to spend more time with them. And so I've really enjoyed that part of it. But I don't think that from an administrative standpoint, nothing's changed.
obviously as a head coach you feel invested in every player, but when the game's going on and you see maybe a guy like Lawler or a wide receiver drop a ball, is that you feel
Yeah.
a little
Oh,
bit,
sure.
take that a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
more
Yeah. No, it's.
sensitively?
Yeah, heck yeah, you do. I mean, they're the guys that are sitting in your meeting room, and so you want to make sure that they play well. But like I said, I've got a pretty far-reaching set of duties, so I try to focus on all of it.
What was the genesis of the California flag being brought in? Did you do that last year too, or just this year? And also, it looks like Barrio has sort of become that guy. Why did that?
Yeah, it's interesting. We did it last year. It kind of just got legs. This year, people have started to notice it and talk about it. The big thing we wanted to do is just to create some state pride. We wanted to be, we feel like we're the flagship university of the state of California, and so we felt like that it made sense for us to carry the state flag in. Again, just to give us our guys a sense of pride. One of the slogans that we've got around here, obviously, is "Fight for California," and that was a unifying logo that our guys could identify with and get behind. And as I said, it seems like it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and some people have started to talk about it, notice it, but we've been doing it for a while. Chris has kind of just taken over that duty. We let the players pick every week who wants to do it, and it seems like everybody's comfortable with Chris doing it right now.
Since the USC coaching changed, do you notice a difference in them, either in the schemes and things that they're doing, or just kind of the way that they seem like they're playing?
Yeah, I mean they're, they haven't changed coordinators. So Clay Helton is the interim head coach now, and I've known Clay for a long time. Clay's a good guy, really good football coach. Seems to me that they're just a little more settled in maybe as a program. But that's some external eyes. Just, the performance on the field, I think has improved somewhat. I think that may be as big a result of just continuing to play, and they're playing a number of young players. They're really talented players, but some of them are pretty young. It looks to me like they may have simplified some things offensively a little bit. But again, besides that, there hasn't been any incredibly noticeable differences.
And has your team seen that Joe Roth movie, and will they see it?
Yeah. No, we showed it to our team before last fall. We have some freshmen that probably haven't seen it. We were hoping there was going to be a time to be able to show it to them this summer during fall camp. That's something that we'll do every year. We've got a DVD version of the story now. We'll watch it every year. I think this week it's important for me to do a good job educating our players about Joe Roth and who he is. And again, the older players obviously know the story, have seen the movie. But we'll talk about it all week, just what his legacy is, what it means to our program, the grace and dignity that he had. Just I think is something for us all to shoot for, and across our program. So he's certainly set the standard for all of us, with his unselfish attitude and sacrifice and his approach to playing the game. I think to me, it's one of the great stories in college football. And I think we all take a lot of pride in representing this university.
Okay, any further questions for Sonny?
You touched upon it Sunday, but how are you feeling about Lasco right now? Have you noticed any?
Yeah, Daniel's. I think Daniel's well. And so he looked great Sunday. He looked, like he's used to look. So we're very encouraged by that.
And Wilson, have you noticed a mature guy from Wilson? How would you kind of describe his approach?
Yeah, Devontae?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he is. I mean, that's as the recruiting process got going last year. that's the thing that struck me about him, but was just his maturity. And he's been around a little bit, and he's had some ups and downs. He's had to go through some things, and I think that forces you to grow up in a lot of ways. And I was just impressed with his demeanor, his seriousness, his work ethic. He was one of those guys that, if he said, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock, he was there at 7:55, and he said, if I'll send a transcript by Wednesday, it got there on Monday. He just was that kind of guy. And he's been that kind of guy since he got here. He's just very, very businesslike in his approach. I really like him personally. I think he's a good guy. Enjoy coaching him a lot. He's the kind of kid we want in our program, for sure.
Okay, anything else for Sonny? Great.
All right, thank you guys. Okay.